Number 12. Hurt hearse. You know the vehicles that transport coffins for funerals? Yeah, they're called hearses. We already know that if you're going to a funeral, you're having a sad and bad and worst day ever. But imagine driving to the cemetery behind the hearse, you're about to bury your loved one, when suddenly the hearse hits a bump in the road. You see the coffin bounce up through the glass, and then the window breaks and the coffin is falling out the window. Yeah, that's a horrible, horrible day. But there are times when a true worst day scenario hits and things really get crazy. Such as the time when during a funeral convoy a hearse suddenly burst into flames. Eyewitnesses said the hearse was trailing the lead car when it caught fire, causing panic among relatives seated at the front. What made the situation even more curious and odd is that apparently the fire came from the coffin itself. Yeah, where's the holy water? The car had to think fast in order to not just get the car out of the way of the others in the convoy, but to get himself to safety. Despite the raging fire from the rear of the vehicle towards the cabin where I was with the widow, I managed, through the grace of God, to contain the vehicle and drove it off the road. Like in a movie scene, I managed to evacuate the two mourners to safety, the driver said. The coffin was mostly undamaged despite the fire, and alongside a downpour of rain, possible karmic balance, the coffin was quickly driven to the funeral site to be put to rest for good, and without any more flames involved. Number 11. Hurricane Hurricane. If you're able to buy a high-priced, high-luxury supercar, you're a lucky person, no doubt. Someone that buys a car like this wants to be noticed, and they are. This is a beautiful car, and one would be pretty stoked to drive one off the lot. For one man in West Yorkshire in the UK though, their dream of getting a Lamborghini Huracan went from 0 to 100 real quick. Well, not literally, I guess it did last about 20 minutes. The man had just got behind the wheel and enjoyed less than a half hour of sweet freedom before he got into an accident. The $200,000 car suffered a mechanical failure of some kind. It wasn't actually the guy's fault, it was the car, but still. The luxury sports car broke down in the middle of the road and was hit from behind by a, quote, innocent motorist. The driver had some minor head injuries due to this, but was able to make it through, and the person that hit the car from behind was fine as well. Talk about the best day turned worst day. Even the cops that came to report the accident tweeted pictures of the Lambo's crushed backside online with the hashtag #could've-cried. Number 10. Tracy Morgan. You might think that celebrities are immune from these kinds of, quote, worst days, but that's not true at all. A great example of this happened in 2019 to none other than comedian and TV actor Tracy Morgan. Morgan got himself a Bugatti Supercar with a hefty price tag of over $2 million. He was literally a half mile from the dealership where he had just bought the car, and while making a legal turn, a woman came out of nowhere and sideswiped him. And police and witnesses backed up this account of things for the record. Believe it or not, there's actually a club of celebrities of whom this kind of accident has happened. Dutch DJ and music producer Nick Van de Wal, better known as Afrojack, totaled his brand new Ferrari 458 Italia the same day he bought it in 2013. Bitstock's founder and chief executive Michael Hudson abandoned his $500,000 bright purple Lamborghini Huracan Performante in a ditch near Enfield, North London, after losing control on standing water. So yeah, celebrities have these kinds of days too. I guess the only upside for these people is if you can afford these kinds of cars, then you can usually afford to get it fixed too. Number 9. How far to get a phone? In today's world, there are things that are without a doubt precious to people in a way that they'd feel absolutely lost without it, and one of them is a cell phone. Come on, you know it's true. Cell phones nowadays are our connections to everything, for better or for worse. Yes, wedding vows. And the idea of breaking the phone or dropping it in a place where they can't reach it easily is a horror story. This brings us to this lady right here. She accidentally dropped her phone down a drain while walking down the street and decided to go in after it, only to go and get stuck. The picture perfectly captures the "oh crap, I'm stuck" moment, and you can just tell that her day is not going to get any better. Hey lady, say hi to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for me while you're down there. What's the worst thing that ever happened to your phone? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 8. A series of unfortunate events. Without a doubt, there are people out there who think that some things are just, quote, meant to happen. That they're just dumb luck or flukes that can happen to anyone if the timing is right, and that might be true. One lady got the worst kind of shower you never ever want to have. She was driving her hot red convertible, enjoying a beautiful sunny day. The wind was blowing her hair, and nothing could possibly go wrong, right? Wrong! She doesn't realize that the truck in front of her is transporting some potentially loaded porta potties. Both cars are driving down the road towards an underpass with a very low clearance. Oh no! The porta potties are too tall. The ceilings are too low. The truck driver doesn't realize the catastrophe that is about to happen. The red convertible doesn't see the disgusting danger about to spill all over her and her car. What makes this even worse is that this horrible, horrible situation could have been very easily avoided. Had the truck driver paid more attention, had the lady driving behind him paid more attention, a very stinky bad day would not have spilled all over. What's more, having the top down is just a bit too much for this series of unfortunate events. Number 7. Warning: wet paint. If you want an alternate reality version of what could have happened to that red convertible, then just take a look at what happened to this truck and its driver. This man was about to paint his house. He had a long day of creativity and labor in front of him, and yet somehow, someway, the paint went from being inside the cans in the back seat to being splattered all over his truck. The guy had to stomp on his brakes hard to avoid something in the road. This led to the paint cans being hurled through the air, opening and exploding all over the guy's Tahoe. It wasn't just a speckle of paint. The entirety of his car got an unwanted paint job. The windows were covered in what looked like a paint car murder scene, the seats were soaked, and even the driver was dripping in new design. It's safe to say this guy's house was not going to get painted that day. The cleaning that will be required for that truck to truly get clean again is no doubt a thing that the owner doesn't want to think about, but will absolutely have to address. Number 6. The toothbrush and the toilet. There are going to be moments in life when you realize that things are just not going to go your way. When you brush your teeth, do you stand still in front of the sink staring at yourself in the mirror? A lot of people do. But then there are the ones that try to multitask. They're moving around while cleaning their teeth. We've all done it. And what's next to the bathroom sink? The toilet. Now, it would not be a good start to the day if you dropped your toothbrush in the toilet. Now, some would argue that you could very simply just, quote, clean the toothbrush, especially since other material wasn't in the toilet bowl at the time. However, would you be up for doing that? Because you know where it's been, you know what it's touched, even if only in small part. Would you really just clean it and reuse it? Number 5. The cake. Here's a situation that many will be able to sympathize with. If you're a chef, you want to make sure that whatever you bake doesn't just look immaculate, it tastes like heaven. Well, not everyone is a professional chef, but even when you try and cook something for you or your special someone, you want it to look and taste great, right? For this woman, she was trying to do something sweet and bake a cake for her husband. Baking the cake isn't the hardest part, it's the decorating. The detail that goes into it, it can be pretty tedious getting that frosting just right. But who knew the hardest part would be moving the cake? This dedicated wife was simply trying to move the cake from the countertop to the table. But imagine this woman's horror when she found herself alongside her cake on the floor. Her husband came home and took a picture of her. Yeah, that expression absolutely says it all, don't you think? And again, you have to sympathize for the simple reason that she clearly put a lot of effort into that cake, and yet to have it be ruined like that is proof she had a bad day. Number 4. The sign says it all. Let's be honest here, there are always going to be people who feel that the rules don't apply to them. And sometimes that kind of behavioral thinking can cause damage to not just them, but the people around them as well. The next bad day happened in a small farming town. A man driving a bulldozer needed to get to the other side of this ditch. There was a small wooden bridge that went across, but it was mostly used for small cars and four-wheelers. Now, had this guy taken a look around, he probably would have found a much easier way to get across. Instead, he decided to drive his construction vehicle, which weighed well over 8,000 pounds, across the little bridge. It did not end well. The bridge couldn't handle the weight and collapsed. This guy is a confirmed idiot. Luckily, no one was hurt, but he probably made lives harder for other people who use the bridge daily. Number 3. Oh, behave. Okay, we've all seen the cartoon Snake Charmers or Tiger King or Steve Irwin play with some pretty deadly animals. How is it that some people can risk their lives with some of these creatures and not even flinch? Well, this woman is not one of them. Clearly, she didn't think that these bees would swarm her like that, and that's her fault, and that's why she is now a member of the Worst Days Club. Getting surprised by all those bees at once, yeah, that must have stung. Number 2. Drop off. Oh, thought we were done with the worst day vehicle stories? Oh no, there are always plenty of stories like those, and this one is pretty special. This guy bought a brand new car online, and because of where he lived, it had to be delivered to him by truck, which is pretty standard in some areas of the world. Anyway, the car was dropped off, literally. It dropped off of the ramp that it was attached to and hit the ground while still being attached to the lift itself. The backside smashed to the ground, and the driver tried to explain what happened to the new owner, and we're pretty sure he doesn't care about the explanation, merely that his new car is damaged without him ever driving it. What would you do in that situation? Number 1. Put the ring on it. It's a tale as old as time. A man decides to propose to his partner and decides that the moment needs ambiance. So he takes them, she in this case, to a lovely spot outdoors and pops the question. She says yes, and then he drops the ring down a gopher hole. Such is life. But hey, at least he got a hole in one. Thanks for watching. What do you think of some of these people that had the worst days ever? Which one is most relatable to you? What's the worst day you ever had? Can you look back and laugh at it now? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time on the Bored Badger.